Let's add Azure storage into Microsoft Azure in our account. Now, I already have an account through Azure, so if you haven't done that, just go to azure.com, sign up, and then you'll get to this home page. I'm going to click on storage accounts. Now, if you don't see storage accounts, just click on more services, and then you'll see storage off on your left-hand side, and then you'll be able to create your storage. Now, first, when you click on storage accounts, if you click on storage accounts, so the first thing it's going to do is say, hey, what's your subscription? So if you don't have one, it'll say create new, and then it'll walk you through that. And then it'll say, hey, what's your resource group? So I'm going to choose an existing resource group, or I can create a new resource group. I'm just going to choose an existing one that I already have. Creating a new one just basically pops up a new box that you just type in the name, and then it creates it for you. And you want to make this descriptive, because if you've got multiple different projects going on, then you're going to want to understand what each project is for. Now we need to come up with a storage account name, and it's got to be something that hasn't been used before. It's got to be lowercase, no spaces or anything like that. So I'm just going to call this Azure Storage Test 1. Now, if it's been used before, it'll tell you. Otherwise, it says that's fine. Next, you've got standard or premium. And standard is going to be cheaper than premium. Premium is going to be faster if you want that for performance. Then you've got the 3 different types of storage. Now, blob storage is going to be the cheapest, and it's really good for backups or just general files. V1 is a little bit better, a little bit more expensive. V2 is going to be for things like databases, or if you're storing VHD or VHDX files, things like that. You're going to be better off with storage too. But for the most part, most people can get away with blob storage just fine. And if it's not, you can always change that by going in and creating new storage and moving all your data from one to the other. Under replication, you're going to have several options. You've got locally redundant, geo-redundant, and then you've got read access geo-redundant. So our cheapest one is going to be locally redundant. And then we click next, and then we have network. So if you choose public network, all networks, it doesn't mean that everybody's going to be able to connect to your files, because they still need a lot more information, as well as you can lock down things on the firewall. But if you choose public endpoint selected networks, then you're going to get prompted for which public networks can connect and from what internal private network. So it's definitely more secure. And then the last option is private. So it's going to ask for you to create a private endpoint. I'm going to choose public for this demonstration. It's just a little bit faster. Then as far as routing preference, I'm going to choose the Microsoft Network routing. Internet routing is also an option. Under the storage account, we have several options here as well. We've got turn on point in time restore for containers. And this is a little bit like the volume shadow copy. So basically it allows you to go back in time in case you need to. You can turn on soft delete for blobs, which basically means that it turns on a recycling bin for you. So if you delete something, then it's going to be in the recycle bin that you can go back and get later if you want. Then you have basically turn on soft delete for containers and for file shares as well. Right now it's grayed out because I don't have the correct type of storage chosen. Next, under tracking, we have turn on versioning for blobs that automatically maintains previous versions for recovery and restoration. And that's a little bit like a checkpoint that you would have, say, in a Hyper-V virtual machine. I'm going to uncheck those because I don't need them for demonstration, but you might want to leave those checked for your production type of storage. Under TLS, if we hit the drop down here, you don't want to choose outdated TLS. TLS 1.2 is definitely going to be the most secure. Secure transfer required, you want to click enabled. So basically if you have 1.2 and you try to connect to this, say, from a really old computer that doesn't support 1.2, maybe Windows XP or something older than that, then you won't be able to connect to it. But as long as you have at least Windows 8, then you should be fine. Allow Blob public access, we already have that enabled. Blob access tier, cool or hot. So if you're going to do something where you're not going to be accessing the files very often, then you'll go cool, especially good for backups, and it's cheaper. If you're going to use access to it all the time, it'll put them on faster hard drives, and you'll want to go hot. But in our case, for demo purposes, we're just going to leave it set to cool. Now, we don't have the correct type of storage for choosing Data Lake Storage Gen 2 or tables and queues. That's going to be reserved for the other storage that we didn't choose, such as V2. Click Next, And now this next part here is for billing. So if you have multiple different departments, you create storage accounts for different departments, then you can choose billing for that. I'm going to choose review and create and click create. And now it's submitting the deployment. So I'm creating basically the container for the storage. And if I want to track on progress, I can go up to this little bell at the top, look at deployment in progress. And if you see any errors, you'll see those as well. If you don't want to see any errors, just click the X on the old errors that don't mean anything anymore. Now, pin to dashboard is a really good idea because it allows you to find your storage more easily. So I'm going to click on pin to dashboard right there. Now I'm going to click on view dashboard and click save. And there's my storage, Azure Storage Test 1. Now I'm going to click on my storage, and I can do all different kinds of things. One of the things that is really useful is the firewall and virtual network. So I'll click on that. Here's where I can change my allow all networks to allow selected networks if I want to lock that down. Now there's a storage explorer that you can download for your computer, or you could also look at the web version. And this is the web version of that storage explorer. So the next thing I want to do is I want to right click and choose create a blob container. And I want to give it a name of test data. And public access by default says private, no anonymous access. You can choose anonymous read access for blobs or container anonymous read access for containers and blobs. So I don't want to have any anonymous access. I want people to have to use usernames and passwords and keys and all that kind of stuff. Now I want to click on create. And there's my container. Now I can upload files if I want. Click on upload. Click on select a file. I'll just choose this ASA firewall demo and click upload. And it says the upload was complete, so I can close that, and now I can see inside my container, there is my file that I had uploaded. I can also download files back to the computer if I decide. So that is how we add blob storage to a Microsoft Azure account.